They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing.
Ladies, let me set the scene. A studio hotter than the California sun, a host who refuses to bow, and a duchess who has never heard the word no said to her face. And in just 33 seconds, 33, everything Meghan Markle built around her image cracked right on live television. But was this a bold woman defending her truth, or a queen without a kingdom, finally losing control? Tell me, what do you think so far? The episode was supposed to be simple. A friendly interview. A little charm. A little PR polish. That's what Meghan expected when she walked onto Bill Maher's set wearing an outfit that costs more than most people make in a month. But the moment she sat across from him, something felt off.
Prince Harry really did that. At a movie premiere last year, he asked the CEO of Disney to hook his wife up with voiceovers.
That smile she flashed? Ladies, you know that smile, the I'm trying, but I'm already annoyed one. The smile that hides a storm. Bill opened casually, smirking the way only a man who has survived decades in Hollywood can. So, Meghan, thanks for coming. You've been pretty selective about where you appear these days. Meghan's smile tightened. Well, Bill, I only go where I can have real, meaningful conversations. And that was the moment. The moment her tone shifted, and Bill smelled blood. Be honest, have you ever seen a woman walk into a room already ready to defend herself? Bill didn't ease her in. He didn't flatter her. He didn't bow. Instead, he leaned back, crossed his arms, and asked the one question Meghan never wants to hear. You've talked about your struggles with press, with the royal family, with, well, everyone. At what point does personal accountability come in? Ladies, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Even the studio lights seemed to dim. Meghan's smile vanished. Her jaw locked. Her eyes flashed with a kind of hurt pride, almost betrayal. Are you seriously blaming me? She snapped. Bill shrugged, calm as ice. I'm just saying, the only common denominator in all your conflicts is you. The audience froze. Even the cameras seemed to stop breathing. If someone said that to you on live TV, what would you do? Meghan tried to push back. She talked about racism, about mental health, about trauma. Important issues, yes, but Bill wasn't letting her hide behind them. You've told your story on Oprah, Netflix, podcasts, interviews. The whole world knows your version.
They just strike me as creatures of that generation. You know, you're just fragile. Just take a hint from the Queen, the recent.
But clearly the world includes people like you who don't believe women, she fired back. Bill held up a hand. I didn't say that. I said the victim narrative gets tiresome. And that, oh, ladies, that hit her like a slap. Because for the first time, someone wasn't playing along. Her face turned red. Her shoulders stiffened. The resentment? It was right there. That deep jealousy of never being seen as enough. That fury of not controlling the narrative. You could practically feel her thinking, how dare you not treat me the way I expect to be treated? Do you think Meghan expected Bill to worship her the way others often do? Bill didn't stop. He pressed harder. You married a prince. You lived in a palace. You live in a mansion now. At what point do you admit your life isn't the hardest life ever lived? The audience murmured. Some nodding. Some uncomfortable. Meghan's voice shook with fury. You're minimizing my trauma. Bill's reply was a dagger dipped in honey. No. I'm saying you have resources most people dealing with trauma don't have. You didn't have to turn family drama into a multi-million-dollar media empire. OOF. The shade was classy but fatal. This was no longer an interview. This was a mirror, one Meghan did not want to look at. Ladies, do you think Meghan struggles with seeing her own privilege? And then came the moment, the turning point, the instant Meghan's emotions finally boiled over. Bill said, some people think you've handled things poorly. And that's allowed. That's called living in a free society. Meghan shot back, a free society that protects white men like you while tearing down women of color like me. Bill laughed, not mockingly, but knowingly. Oh, here we go. And that sent her spiraling. She stood up, chair screeching across the floor. Her hands shaking. Her voice cracking. Because this was what she hated most.
Whenever the kids are being fussy and not going to bed, she puts on an episode of Suits and they're out. So, what are you doing? Ow! Stop it! Yeah. Stop it!
Not being in control. Not being pitied. Not being adored. Bill didn't move. Didn't rise. Didn't flinch. Sit down. he said, not rude, just firm. Conversations aren't people praising you. But Meghan had already snapped. I don't have to sit here and take this. Actually, Bill said calmly, you kind of do. You agreed to be here. He was right. And she hated that. Have you ever watched someone walk into a situation they weren't emotionally ready for? Ladies, this was just the first 5 minutes. 5 minutes. The real explosion? The accusations? The tear-filled threats? The walkout that shook Hollywood? That all happens next. And trust me, part 2 gets darker, sharper, and far more emotional. So, ladies, when we left off, Meghan was standing, breathing sharp, furious, trembling. Not because of Bill's words. Not because of the audience. But because this moment was her deepest fear made real. Someone finally challenged her story. Someone refused to let her control the narrative. Someone didn't bend. And that, more than anything, shook her. She stood there, chin high but hands trembling, eyes flashing with humiliation. You invited me here under the pretense of a real conversation, she spat, and instead you ambushed me with your misogynistic talking points. Bill didn't even blink. This is a real conversation, he said calmly. Real conversations aren't compliments. Ladies, have you ever been in a moment where the truth was so sharp it felt personal? Meghan tried to leave. She clutched her purse, ready to storm off, but Bill wasn't finished. You wanted someone to fawn over you for an hour, he added. If that's what you needed, you should have gone on Ellen. Ouch. That wasn't shade. That was solar eclipse darkness. Her jaw dropped. The audience gasped. Bill just waited. Because here's what Meghan didn't understand. Bill Maher does not care about royalty, real or self-made. He cares about the truth. She whirled around, finger pointed at him, voice rising. You think you're funny? Clever? You sit here in your privilege judging me. Bill leaned forward. What serious issues? He asked. All I hear is you upset about headlines. And that, ladies, that was the line that cracked her composure. At this point, whose side are you on? Bill wasn't cruel. He wasn't loud. But his words were surgical. You want privacy, he said, but you sell stories about your private life. You talk about mental health, while making your sister-in-law cry. You talk about compassion, while cutting off your father. Every sentence felt like a mirror held inches from her face. Meghan stepped closer, voice trembling with fury. You have no compassion. Bill didn't even raise his voice. I do. For people who deserve it. Not for millionaires who build careers on victimhood. That was when the audience started clapping, hesitant at first, then louder. Not because they disliked Meghan, but because, for once, someone said what people think but fear to voice. And Meghan knew it. Her face turned crimson, eyes glossy from rage, not sadness, ladies, rage. Do you think Meghan expected the audience to save her here? Then came the line that changed everything. Name one thing you've accomplished that isn't tied to who you married. Silence. Actual silence. The kind that squeezes the air out of a room. Meghan stuttered, I was a working actress. Bill shrugged. On a cable show most people never watched. You could see it hurt her. Not the words, but the implication. That without the crown, she was just another actress in LA. And that's where the emotional psychology hits. Meghan has always fought to be seen, valued, adored. And when someone questioned the identity she built so carefully, she cracked. Her voice rose, sharp and cold. You are a disgusting human being. Bill replied, and you're a narcissist with a crown complex. Ladies, jealousy and wounded pride filled that stage so thick you could scoop it with a spoon. Do you think Bill was too harsh, or finally honest? Meghan grabbed her phone, ready to flee. Bill didn't chase her. He didn't apologize. He didn't soften. Go ahead, he said. Run away. You've run away from everything else. Her breath caught. Because deep down, she knew he hit the truth she spends her life avoiding. You think you're relevant? She shot back. You peaked 20 years ago. Bill actually smiled. At least I peaked. That broke her. Her face crumpled, not with tears, but with wounded pride. She tried one last blow. You'll regret this. Do you know who I am? Bill laughed. Ladies, he laughed. Are you threatening me? This is exactly your problem. She froze. The audience froze. Even the cameras froze. Because in that moment, Meghan wasn't a duchess. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't a Hollywood royal. She was just a woman losing a battle she wasn't prepared to fight. Have you ever seen someone reveal their true self when pressured? She insulted Bill. She insulted the audience. She insulted the entire show. And they stayed silent. Not hateful, just stunned. Because for the first time, Meghan wasn't in control of the narrative. She whispered, shaking, "I regret coming here." Bill nodded. "I'm sure you do." And then, heels clicking like a heartbeat, she walked off. No dramatic exit music. No applause. Just tension. The audience sat frozen. Then slowly, hesitantly, applause broke out. Half supportive. Half stunned. Bill just sighed. Well, that was fun. Behind the scenes? Producers panicked. Staff whispered. Security checked the exit twice. Because they all knew, this moment would explode across the internet by morning. And Meghan? She walked out knowing she'd lost control of her story, again. Part 3 is where the real consequences unfold. The producers, the whispers, the public reaction, and Bill's final message that left the audience speechless. When Meghan disappeared through that backstage door, the entire studio froze. Not a whisper. Not a cough. Just the quiet echo of her heels, fading away. It wasn't just a walkout. It wasn't just drama. It was symbolic, a woman who has spent years controlling the story, finally losing it. Behind her? A room full of people staring at an empty chair, the same chair she'd once believed she deserved, the spotlight, the sympathy, the center. Ladies, tell me, have you ever watched someone walk away from a situation they created themselves? The moment Meghan was gone, chaos erupted backstage. A producer sprinted onto the set, face pale. "Is she really gone?" he whispered to Bill. Bill nodded coolly. "Oh yeah, she's gone. Should we go after her?" Bill raised an eyebrow, sarcasm gentle but deadly. "And say what? Please come back and answer more questions you hate." The producer ran a hand through his hair. He knew what Meghan's walkout meant: viral clips, headlines, fan wars, PR nightmares. The kind of storm that turns a TV moment into a cultural earthquake. And every person backstage felt it. Do you think Meghan's team was ready for this meltdown, or completely blindsided? Bill turned back to the audience, an audience caught between shock and fascination. Some were whispering. Some still stunned. Some smiling nervously like they'd just witnessed history. "So," Bill said, exhaling dramatically, "anyone else want to come up here and storm off? We've got 20 minutes of show left to fill." Laughter broke the tension, but only slightly. Because everyone knew, the interview wasn't entertainment. It was a crack in the facade, the moment the world saw a version of Meghan she couldn't hide. When the show returned from commercial, Bill didn't pretend nothing happened. He looked into the camera with that signature, sharp-edged honesty. "We live in a time," he began, "where people think they only have to answer questions they like. Where disagreement is treated like an attack." The audience clapped, some lightly, some fiercely. "I don't hate Meghan," Bill continued. "I don't even dislike her. I just think she's wrong on a lot of things, and she didn't want to defend those opinions." That line. That single, simple line. It hit harder than anything he'd said during the fight. Because this time, the shade wasn't sharp, it was matter-of-fact. Almost compassionate. Meghan had walked out, seeing herself as attacked. Bill stayed, seeing her as unprepared. Which perspective do you think is closer to the truth? When the show ended, the audience filed out buzzing. Some thought Bill went too far. Others thought he was spot on. But no one, and I mean no one, left without an opinion. Whispers filled the aisles. "She shouldn't have cracked like that," he asked fair questions. "She didn't deserve that," she looked entitled. "He was harsh, she was dramatic." People weren't just reacting to what happened, they were reacting to what it revealed. And ladies, let's be honest. Sometimes the loudest meltdowns come from the quietest insecurities. Do you think Meghan broke down because of Bill, or because of the truth she's been avoiding? After the show wrapped, Bill stayed behind, sipping his water, leaning back in his chair. Someone asked him, "You think she'll sue? Make a statement? Start a PR campaign?" He shrugged. "She'll do whatever she's going to do. I said what I said, and I'd say it again." There was no fear in his voice. No regret. Just a man standing firmly in his truth. Meanwhile, the producers walked around with pale faces, because they knew the internet was about to erupt. And erupt it did. The clip of Meghan storming off spread faster than wildfire. Threads exploded. Opinions flew. Both fanbases went to war. And at the center of it all? That empty chair. The symbol of a conversation she refused to finish. As the crew cleared the set, Bill paused and looked one last time at Meghan's empty seat. Under the bright studio lights, the chair felt like a spotlight without a star. A reminder. A lesson. A warning. Not about Meghan. Not about Bill. But about what happens when someone builds a narrative so tightly that the truth feels like betrayal. Bill had challenged her story. She didn't, finish the conversation. And the world saw it. Sometimes the most powerful moment in a story isn't the fight. It's the silence that follows. Do you think Meghan regrets leaving, or thinks she won by walking away? Ladies, here's the honest truth. Not shaded, not dramatic, just real. This wasn't about politics, or royalty, or even fame. This was about identity. A woman desperate to be understood faced a man determined to question her. A person who thrives in curated sympathy met someone who refused to play along. A queen without a crown, colliding with a host who refuses to kneel. And in that clash, her narrative cracked. Because sometimes the story we tell the world is not the story the world sees. Ladies, if you're watching this on New Things, I want to hear your final verdict. Did Meghan walk out because she was mistreated, or because Bill Maher finally held up a mirror she couldn't face? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice decides what story we explore next.